Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you aren't subscribed yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell notification. I noticed that a lot of you watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you are into photography, filmmaking, visual storytelling, well, this is your channel. We're on the road to hitting 10,000 subscribers. So I want to thank everybody who joined the ride recently. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, but only recently that I really started to invest time and effort in making these videos for you guys. It started off as a passion project, and now I'm starting to see the value of the community we've built over the years. So for the people who were there day one, thank you. Hopefully you're still there. And for the people who joined recently, please tell all of your friends if they need to see one of these videos or if they need to hear my podcast, which is the presenter of this video, if I say so. The podcast is named The Visual Storytelling Podcast. You can hit the link down below. And this is where I interview creative people from around the world, including people like Phil Penman or even Jason Roman, more recently Stock Easy, which did a great interview. And I really recommend if you want a dose of inspiration. This channel is more about, the techniques, the gear, and so on and so forth. And the podcast is more for inspiration. So I really like what we've built, and I want to thank you. Let's get this channel to 10,000 subscribers and head over to the podcast. So enough of the shameless plugs. Let's go into today's subject. The good folks at Dehancer reached out to me a couple months ago, and they wanted me to test their plugins. And I've been in contact with them, exchanging on what the plugin is about, but I never really deep dived into the ecosystem that they created. And I will say this, they are a very open company. They sent me over their plugin. They said, try it out, give it a shot, give us your feedback, and if you want to do a video about it, cool. If you don't, also cool. So they're not forcing me to do this video. They're not reviewing this video. So if you don't think that this is a sponsored video, not at all. This is a honest thought about something that I think can really add value to your arsenal of tools when it comes to creating more engaging visual stories. For me, I was always after that film look that I was getting on my photos. I'm a big Fujifilm fan, as you know, so I was creating all those recipes. And more recently with the Leica cameras, when I go into Lightroom, I always try to get some grain in there, something a bit more organic than the clinical sharp look that some other photographers and storytellers are going for. But on the video side, I will say this, I'm not a professional filmmaker. I'm not a professional YouTuber for that matter. So I am discovering these products just like you would as a passionate visual storyteller that actually uses tools that are made for this day and age, like Dehancer. So let me dive right into it. And if you stay until the end of the video, I'll tell you how you can actually get this plugin with a discount, because the good folks at Dehancer were cool enough to give you access to a discount using one of my promo codes. But let's see how I'm actually using this plugin now that I have it in my arsenal. So first off, I am in Final Cut. I know that this plugin is compatible for other softwares too. If you look at DaVinci Resolve, Premiere, and so on and so forth, it will be compatible with all of that. There's even a iPhone app that we can look into maybe in another video, but they really created a platform that's compatible with all the modern DAWs and video editors. So if you go in there, you see that this is a shot that was, or film that was shot on a ZV-E1. So this is the camera of choice for me recently. And this is a video I really like because I rediscovered the S-Log profile. Back then when the cameras were a bit less evolved when it comes to the color science on the Sony side, it was harder to get the image that I really liked. But now I'm getting that full frame look, and paired with the 20 millimeters right there and that S-Log footage, I can really bring it to where I want it to be. So here's my footage. There are kind of two ways to bring in the Dehancer plugin onto your footage. And the first one is pretty simple. You go into your filters and you type in Dehancer after you installed, of course, the Dehancer plugin. This is the V2. I'm going to go with the V7, which is their latest one, and I highly recommend you check out the latest version. It's actually, they added some pretty cool features in there. But it's as simple as taking the plugin right here and dropping it directly on the clip, and boom, voila, you have the right panel that opens up and you can start working on your footage. The one thing I will say though is that I don't use it like that, and my little tips that I learned from other YouTubers and other filmmakers is that I create a adjustment layer, and I'll put a link down below. If you're not familiar with the whole adjustment layer in Final Cut approach, you do have to install a little thing that goes into the software that makes this appear, but it's very simple. It's not intimidating. And if you actually want a video on that, let me know down below. I can do that as a follow-up. But once you have your adjustment layer, you can click on the adjustment layer, bring it on top of your footage. And then what I do is that I take it and I bring it all the way to the footage that I want to have the plugin on. And let's take this sequence as an example where you've got, let's say this one with the skin tones and the product. How about this? Okay, this one, maybe one where I don't look like a maniac. Hard to find. Okay, let's take this one. So now that I have my adjustment layer on top, I actually drop a Dehancer plugin right on this adjustment layer, which allows me to reuse that adjustment layer on other clips. So you don't have to do it manually on every single clip. You just drop it on the adjustment layer and voila, it opens up that little panel here where you can start your adjustments. First off is that it'll look very terrible when you drop it on the first time because it doesn't know what type of footage that is under it. So you'll have to start working with the source here. And it's really, this is where I think that Dehancer really created a design system. It's walking you through every single steps. I actually recommend going through from top to bottom. I think they really designed it in a way to make it very user-friendly in the way to work with it. So the source, sometimes you'll have some Rec 709 footage that's already there, like my DJI footage that's right here. But in this case, I can choose the camera that I shot it with. This is a Sony ZV-E1. So if I do choose camera, you'll see that there are multiple different cameras that are available. So you see here, there's the Sony, but there's also the Fujifilm, DJI that they just recently added, and the Arri, the Apple log, and so on and so forth. And again, so for me, it's Sony. So I select Sony, and already the Sony vendor profile is starting to look like something that looks a bit more like Rec 709. Although this is not the right camera, this is for the A6300, and these are all the cameras that Sony, that Dehancer have a profile for. For me, it's the ZV-E1. Look what happened if I click on it. Boom, there you go. It's already starting to look like something that I kind of like. I was a bit underexposed here, and here you have more control over your log footage. So exposure comp, I will give it a plus, maybe plus 30, just to bring it to where it should have been. I think I was a bit more underexposed that I wanted to be on that shot. But this is where this plugin becomes interesting because it's not just a LUT that's working with the colors, but you can do a lot of adjustments like exposure comp, the temperature. The temperature was actually where I wanted to be, so I'll leave it at 0. But you have some, some tint comp, defringe, that you can see in real time what it does to the footage. Let's put it back to 50 and some different radius. And if you enable it, let's see what it does. There you go. You can see what it does to the footage already. But I will put that back to 50, which is where it was. I thought the footage looked good that way. Where the real magic happens is with the film stock. So this is where the Dehancer plugin might differ from other plugins. I know there's Phantom LUTs and other type of plugins that pretend that can bring you to the, the close to film look. Well, they went to the extent at Dehancer to include a bunch of different film stock. And some of those are cinema film stock, and some of those are photography film stock, like your, Kodak Portra 400 or Superia and so on and so forth. The one that I really like, you even have some black and white profile like the, Super 400 from Ilford XP2 or the XP5, HP5 plus 400. This one I really like on the photography side. But for video, if you go into Kodak, I really like the Ektar 100 for some reason. So this is the before and this is the after. It does bring the footage back a little bit less like magenta and so on. I really like how it does the skin tone and how it renders the background and the lights and so on and so forth. So for me, Ektar is the one that I usually put on my footage, and then you can push and pull it just like film. You can do a +2 or a -2 and everything in between, right? So for me, at 0 was perfect, so I'll leave it there. Or maybe maybe I'll push it a bit, I'll pull it a bit, -25 to give it that bit more cooler tone to it. So this is the before, this is the after, and all the way through you can do before and after, which I thought was really, really clever in the way they designed the system. They even went to the extent of doing a film developer simulator built into the plugin, so you can actually see your contrast boost, so from very, very contrasty to basically washed out. I thought it was correct at 0, so I won't do this adjustment, but you can do like the gamma correction, so if you are into that type of corrections, and also color separation, color boost. Let's see what color boost is. Let's go crazy. There you go. That's the camera conspiracy Dehancer right there. Huh? Camera conspiracy, do you agree? Let's trademark that. This should be your LUT or something like that. Or this would be the Mad Day one. I don't know. I'm having fun here with this plugin. I hope you bear with me because it's a very fun plugin to work with. Film compression, all those things that are really related to film. I don't exactly know how they do that and how they do the magic, but they went to the extent of doing very, very precise modification to the way your footage look through all those film-like type of setting. Here you have your expand with the black point, so you can see here that you can get that washed out look if you're into that type of thing, or that very contrasty one, with your black point being even more deep or lighter. Again, I think this, I'll leave it off, and if I actually enable it, it will just be the same as putting it to 0. And then you've got print, which is basically if you were to print the footage on a paper type of thing, where you get your Fujifilm print paper, your Kodak, which is a bit warmer, and then you've got another Kodak one. For me, again, I try to stay simple in the way I do my edits, so I don't use that feature, but it's there if you want it. Even the color head is there, like you can really go into the colors and add some magenta, or you can, this is awful, so let's go back to 0, but this is something you can play with. The film grain, this is one that's interesting, so you can actually have a profile that's really thin, like on the 8mm ISO 250. I said thin, sorry, really big, like the 8mm, or then you can go into like 65mm, which is a completely different pattern, ISO 250. Again, this is something that I'm playing with, but the sweet spot for me for now is 35mm ISO 50, which I like kind of the grain that it creates if I do a little sequence here, but without being overdone. I like this approach where you can see the grain, a bit like my photography, but it's not like overdone in some fashion where you can see all the grain in every single pixel of the screen. So going back to where we were, we looked at the film grain. So now let's look at something that's very, very cool. And this is the halation or halation effect. This is hard for a Frenchie like me to say all these words, but hey, halation effect. If you look at the background here, I have some neons in the background. So this is the equivalent of having kind of a cinestill film in there. So if I enable it, and if I do maybe 16mm, you'll see that it does change the halation in the back, and also the bloom effect. So this is again going a bit more on the neon side of things. If I enable it and I go maybe 16mm, you'll see the difference without it, and with it, it will kind of have a bloom effect on the lights in the background, on the neons in the background. So let's leave it on. I kind of like it. And then if you go to the next one, film damage. This is so crazy, guys. So they even built in a way to damage, quote unquote, your film, so it actually looks more like a real film that would have been, transported from one cinema to the other. Sometimes it has some hair in it and some, artifact on it. So very, very cool that they added this little film damage one. If I do this, you'll see that there are some little things that are passing by the screen. Let's go full screen so you can see it in full screen. There you go. You've got your film damage right there. I really, really dig that effect. It can be overdone, I will tell you this, but it's just cool that it's there for this video. Let's leave it on. Let's be crazy. Film breathe. This is where, when the film is being played in cinemas, it does breathe a bit, like it does go in and out and in and out. It's very, very subtle. But again, they've built it in so you can recreate that very, very film-esque look. Let's go back here or down here. This is the overscan. This is something I haven't played a lot with, and I would love to learn more, but this is something maybe for a later video. I think it's super powerful. I did, play with some of the functions, but I want to learn more about what it does to the footage and how can you integrate it in your story. But one that I do like a lot is the vignetting. Just like in my photography, sometimes a good vignette, when it's used subtly but efficiently, can be very, very cool. So if you enable it already, the default is pretty cool because again, it's very subtle. But if you want to go all in and like do something a bit more aggressive on the vignetting, you can do the feather right here, the aspect ratio, and the exposure, like to really put it like a dark one, or just a small one like this that's very, very, very subtle, but it does bring the attention to the center of the screen. So that's a way to do it that I would use maybe in a travel video as an example. You even have something called monitor, where you can do your false color directly on the screen. So that's pretty cool. Usually you have that on your screen that you're recording with, but now it's built into this plugin, so you can do that effect. And also some clipping indication. You can see that this is too dark and this is information that's lost. But it's recuperable. I can say that it's recuperable because I shoot in RAW or in LUG. But again, it shows you in this footage right now with the plugin where it's clipping. Then the output, you can see that with 50% of the total impact, or 0. This is just with no plugin on, and then everything going through the impact. The other thing that's super cool, so the way to activate your license, you just click on license info and it will validate. And for me, it's a promo for now, but it will validate that you can use the plugin, which is very cool. But this is where it gets really interesting. You can actually do check profiles, and every month or two, I would say that you can download. Look at this. So this is stuff that weren't actually in the plugin, but it went online and it checked, and then it downloaded some new profiles. This is how I got access to the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 update, which they created some profiles for. So you remember when we did earlier, when we did the choice of camera at the top, it was enabling me to choose Sony and Fujifilm. So now they added the one for the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 because it can shoot. I think they call it D-Log. So it has a RAW profile also on that camera, the one that I'm holding right here, and you can work with log footage from that camera in that Dehancer Pro plugin moving forward. So pretty cool. If you like this and you're like, wow, this is a look that I want to use on all of my videos, then you can definitely save that effect and use it on other footage that you create. So this is pretty cool. So I want to say this last point here, LUT generator. This is where you could actually even sell some LUT that you create. Right now I can't because it's a demo, but you can even export it and share it with friends or with other shooters that you film a video with, so you guys can ensure that you have the same look across the film. Wow, that was a mouthful, and I'm pretty excited about using this plugin moving forward for all of my creations, including YouTube, short movies, travel videos, and so on and so forth. I can see myself creating a look that I really like, and then I apply to all my footage with some adjustments depending on the lighting or some other factors. If you are interested in learning more, please ask questions down below. Like I said, I'm not an expert in everything yet. I'm still developing my knowledge around this software. But if you have any questions about the stuff I showed today, ask them down below. If you aren't subscribed, like I said, please hit that subscribe button, that bell notification. And if you want to benefit from 10% off for this very plugin, if you put Fred Ranger 10, when you go download the plugin on Dehancer.com, you'll be able to get 10% off. So thank you, Dehancer, for offering my viewers and you guys a discount for your purchase of this plugin. So very cool. I wish you to be happy, to enjoy life, and to enjoy and embrace the grain of Dehancer plugin. Cheers.